All right, good day, class. So we're going to continue our discussion on Laplace transform. We already discussed what is Laplace transform, but we haven't really solved yet for the initial value problems. But we'll get to that in the following lectures. We also discussed different Laplace transforms of our elementary functions, such as the exponential function, Laplace transform of a constant, of cosine, sine, hyperbolic cosine, hyperbolic sine. And we also discussed the theorem, what happens or what is the Laplace transform of a certain function that is multiplied by your exponential function. So, napo na siya as atong previous lecture. Right now, we're going to discuss this next theorem wherein we want to get the Laplace transform of a certain function that is multiplied to t. Okay, so we have this theorem here, class. If f of t, okay, has the transform of f of s, then the Laplace transform of f of t is just equal to, class, sa imuhang negative derivative of f of s, okay, or the negative f prime of s. Or kung ato pag nang i-rewrite further, that is just equal to the negative of the derivative of the Laplace transform of f of t. Okay, as simple as that, class. Meaning to say, if you want to get the Laplace transform of f of t, first, we need to get the Laplace transform of f of t, and then we differentiate it, and then we negate it. Mo na siya yung equivalent sa f of t. Now, don't be so confused about the notation. All you have to do, class, is see kung unsa nga function ang multiplied sa imong t, and then apply this theorem. Ana lang. Because sometimes, you're given with different functions nga f of t ang tawag, pero nana dito ang t and then some other function. So, basin malibog mo. Don't get too caught up with the notation. As long as you understand the concept, kung unsaon siya, makasabot na kabalag bali-balihon or unsa nga variable, unsa nga letter ang gamiton to denote the function, you would know how to solve that. Okay? So let's prove, class, nga mo gini siya ang case, no? How do we get the Laplace transform of f of t, no? Nga di na ta moagi sa katubitong isulod na to siya tanan dito sa integral of blah blah blah. Okay? So we're gonna prove that here before we solve some problem. Nga equal ba gid na siya. Okay? So medyo mag-reverse ta gamay, class. We know that the derivative of f with respect to s mo na ang imuhang f prime of s, right? Now f prime of s, class, is kung ato lang gyapon i-rewrite, nagbali-bali ra ko, that is the derivative of f of s, okay, with respect to s, right? Now, f of s, class, is the Laplace transform of f of t, okay? And the Laplace transform of f of t is given by this expression, that is the integral of from 0 to infinity, no, of e to the negative st f of t dt. Okay, remember this transform, mo niya itong gitawag na kernel of the Laplace transform, no, kaning e to the negative st. All right, now, how do we prove that? How do we prove this expression, class? Medyo natay trick diri gamay, and we use what we call the, if I'm not mistaken with the pronunciation, we call the Leibniz rule. Now, the Leibniz rule is kanang pwede na ito masulod atong derivative dito sa integral. Now, if you want to get the derivative of this whole expression, class ba, with respect to s, and t is considered here as a variable man, variable ang t, variable po ng s, but we want to get the derivative of, again, this whole expression with respect to s. Now, kung isulod na ito siya sa integral, class, dili sa sulod yun, ato siyang i-change yung notation into its partial. Why partial? Because there are two variables involved, S and T, and partial siya because we treat T as a constant in this case. Because ato ramang gusto, class, is get a derivative with respect to S. So, ma-change na atong notation, but the idea that we are differentiating with respect to S is not changing. Okay, wala siya na change. So, nanantay gamay nga changes sa notation pagsulod na to sa integral. Okay? So, copy lang na to ning e to the negative st and f of t. Okay, mo man itong kuhaan og dili man ta mag-differentiate. Okay? So, if we differentiate this with respect to S class, we treat T as a constant. So, that means f of T is just a constant. Okay, pwede natin siya ipakilid gamay. And then, getting the derivative of e to the negative st, that is just e to the negative st copy. And then, multiplied by negative t, which is the coefficient nimo. In this case, negative t because mo ni siya imong constant. We treat t again as a constant. Okay, and then we have dt. Now, we would want to rewrite everything, class. So, ipagawa sa tuning negative nga kaning sa negative t. So, that is negative t, negative lang. And then, the integral from 0 to infinity of, now, we rewrite that, class, katong familiar na to nga notation. No? We have e to the negative st nya t f of t dt. Alright? So, this one I know you're familiar with. Balik ta gamay ani. If we have this transform, class, di ba, what ang meaning ani is we get the Laplace transform of f of t. We get the Laplace transform of whatever is multiplied by e to the negative st. In this case, e to the negative st is multiplied by t f of t. Meaning we can conclude that this expression here, kana siyang expression, class, ako lang i-write sa kilid, that is the Laplace transform of t f of t. Okay? So, moving on, we know that this whole expression, class, ako nang i-write hagikan sa tong first expression here, that is f prime of s, no, is equal to the negative of the Laplace transform of tf of t. Okay? That means to get the Laplace transform of tf of t, that is the negative of f prime of s. So we have proven that the theorem is indeed correct. Right? Now, let's go to some example. Let's solve some example. Okay, you may want to pause this video. Go ahead. All right. We have this problem. We find the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to t sine 7 of t. Mo nang giingon, class, nga don't get too caught up with the notations na f, na g. Now in this case, ang f of t nato manggod is a function of t. So this whole expression is a function of t. That doesn't mean that we are defying the theorem nga. Di ba, ma'am, ingon ko, ma'am, ang kini-multiplied sa t mo na yung f of t, then mo na siya ang t. Yung anong f of t man ni ma'am, that is just, again, a notation. Okay? We are separating t and then another function f of t para ma-prove na to nga theorem. Okay, but in this case, we are given a function of t that is equivalent to t sine 7t. And we want to get the Laplace transform of this whole function. Now, we know, based from the previous theorem, that the Laplace transform of t and some function of t is just equal, class, to the negative of the derivative of the Laplace transform of sine 7t. Or again, whatever is multiplied to your t, mo na imuhang ibutang diri sa sulod. Alright, kato akong gisulat ka ganina. Okay, so we want to get the Laplace transform first of sine 70, and we know from our previous lecture, you can check the table if you have forgotten about that. But again, please solve a lot of problems so that anad na mo unsay iyang itsura ba dili na kay mo magtan-aw sa table. Okay? You're familiar, you're gonna be more familiar with the Laplace transform of different functions if you have solved a lot of them. Okay? So that is equal to 7 over s squared plus 7 squared. Okay, that's the Laplace transform of sine 70. So, copy lang sa nato na class. Let's simplify first. That is s squared plus 49. Alright? And then, let's try to simplify lang ato ato sa siyang isaka ang quantity s squared plus 49 class para mas dali nato siya ma-differentiate. Okay, we have 7 times s squared plus 49 raised to negative 1. Right? And then we can differentiate. So let's just retain the negative here, kini. And then getting the derivative of that, we have ang 7, ato lang ipakilit, kaya that's a constant. So the derivative of s squared plus 49 raised to the negative 1, atong bring down ang negative 1, the exponent, and then copy the quantity s squared plus 49, no? And then what happens to the exponent? It will become negative 2 multiplied pagid class by the derivative of s squared plus 49, and that is 2s. Okay? So simplifying everything, we have here the negative 7, negative 1, and 2s. That is positive 14s over s squared plus 49. Bring down na to, that is squared, positive. Okay, so we already have the Laplace transform of t sine 70 using the previous theorem that we have learned. Okay, so this is our answer. Okay, so pwede mo mag-solve og daghan pa jud nga mga kuan class t cosine 70, unsa pa inyo may mga hyperbolic functions multiplied by your t. Okay, para mas maanad mo. I'm gonna go ahead to the general form of the Laplace transform class of t raised to n. Okay, what happens pod kung ang imong f of t is multiplied by t to the n? Kagani na t ra man to where your n is equal to 1. Okay, so generally, the Laplace transform the class of t to the n f of t is equal to the negative 1 raised to n of the nth derivative of f of s. Okay, so meaning the higher the exponent sa imong t, the higher pod ang imong derivative nga kuwaon sa katong f of s nimo. Alright, so kung tan-aw na to class, ma-apply man gyapon, mas general gid siya, no, because when you have atong na-learn ka ganina nga t f of t, here that is n is equal to 1, right? So if we apply that here, that is negative 1 raised to 1, unya the first derivative man na, okay, this is the nth derivative, di na siya exponent, and then f of s. Okay, we have the negative of the first derivative of f of s, and that is equal to the first theorem. Now, when n is equal to 2 class, that means we get the Laplace transform of t squared f of t. Okay, that is negative 1 squared times the second derivative of f of s with respect to s. So, ma-positive man na, negative 1 squared. So, that is just the second derivative of f of s with respect to s. Okay, and so on. Okay, so magbalik-balik yung ka o differentiate class kung higher ang imong n. Okay, let's have an example. Okay, find the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to t squared sine 70. Okay, parehas ni sa atong example kay ganina, except that your t has an exponent of 2 instead of 1. Okay, so applying the theorem, katong general theorem niya class, that is the Laplace transform of t squared sine 70. That is just negative 1. Your n is 2 man. So 2. And then we multiply it with the second derivative of f of s, no? with respect to s. So, ma-positive na, and we are left with the second derivative of the Laplace transform of unsa man. Of course, Laplace transform of whatever is multiplied sa imong t squared or sa imong function, sa imong, t squared or t or whatever. So, that is the Laplace transform of sine 70. Okay? So, again, we need to get the Laplace transform of sine 70. That is, actually class, dali ra kay ni, kay na-solve na to ko na ang first derivative, no? So, ako ning bulagon ang kining second derivative nga notation, no, into like this, the first derivative of the first derivative. Okay, I hope you understand. Of the Laplace transform of sine 70. Now, this expression here, class, kining first derivative of the Laplace transform, na-solve na to kaganina. So, di na ta mabalik, ana. Kini siya, oh. Kini siya. Okay? The answer is the negative 14s. Kay ang answer mo gula is positive. So, if we negate that, which is the value of this, that is just negative 14s. And so on. Okay? So, I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. Para di na ta magbalik-balik. Okay? So, that is the first derivative of the negative 14s over s squared plus 49. Okay, I hope I'm making sense here. So, we need to get the derivative na po, ani class, so that we can get the second derivative of this expression. Okay, so same gyapon kaganina. Let's rewrite this in this way. We have the negative 14s times s squared plus 49. Ay, naka-square din ni class. Tama ba? Yeah, squared. Okay, negative 2. All right, so since we have here 14s and then an expression of s na po dere, we use the product rule of differentiation. No? So we have copy negative 14s and then differentiate the second one. So to differentiate that, bring down negative 2. We have s squared plus 49. Nya ang imong exponent mahimo siyang negative 3 class multiplied by the derivative of s squared plus 49, that is 2s, plus copy na po ng second, which is s squared plus 49, the negative 2, times the derivative of negative 14s, and that is negative 14. Okay, so we simplify everything, class. We have negative 14 here, negative 14s times negative 2 times 2s. So that is positive 56 over, naog na to ng negative exponent, we have s squared plus 49 cube. Okay? And then the second term, we have negative 14 over s squared plus 49 squared. Okay, actually, this is the final answer. I mean, we already got the Laplace transform of the functions now that we are given with. However, I want to simplify it more, class. So, the simplification, Ana, is, diretso na ako how we have s squared plus 49 cube. We have here 56 minus 14. Ay, s din eh. Ano si equals f? Yeah, 15s. 56s. Sorry, class. My bad. S squared. We have here s, and then we have s. Okay? So, apologies. Okay, s squared minus 14 multiplied by s squared plus 49. Okay. So, simplify na lang ako diretso, class. That is 14 times 3s squared minus 49 all over s squared plus 49 cube. Nga naman, kay, usually manggod basta na kay, kung gusto lang ka mag-check class yung mga answer online na may mga, I don't think nasa Wolfram, pero pwede mo mas symbol lab, magamit og symbol lab. Ang yung answer is kanang ing-ani nga pagka-express manggod. So, it's good nga i-simplify pa gid ninyo further so that you can really check whether or not you get the right answer. Okay? So, if you want to solve a lot of problems, do so. And then, pwede na po ninyo i-verify na dahil sa symbol lab. If I'm not mistaken, simbola ba na siya? Anyways, check that out. Okay, that's for the theorem involving the t to the n, multiplied by a certain function. Now, what happens, class, if we multiply e to the t, or the exponential function, times the t? Remember that we have a theorem, class, involving the exponential function, and we have a theorem involving the t. Okay, so if you can recall, we have our first theorem that we discussed is the exponential function multiplied by some function. Na siya special nga pagka-write or pagka-solve. Nasa special nga pagka-solve imuhang t to the n f of t, right? Meaning, kani sila nga mga function, class, na sila effect ba kung multiplied by some function. Now, what happens if we multiply these two? Asa nga theorem ang atong i-apply? Asa nga theorem ang mas mo prevail? Let's try to solve that one. Okay? Now, atong tanawon. Kung isolve nato siya, class, using the first theorem, what will happen sa ato ang Laplace transform? So, solution 1, katong Laplace transform of katong shifting nato, class. So, let's solve first for the Laplace transform of t. Okay, kaning multiplied sa ato ang e to the t ba? Right? So, that is, if you can recall, that is 1 over s squared. Okay? Now, if we multiply that with e to the t, what will happen to our s? We replace it with s minus alpha. Now, alpha in this case is 1. Okay? Ang alpha na to kay 1 diri, kay t raman siya. Okay? So, meaning s minus 1. Ang s, again, replacean siya og s minus 1 na naka-square. So, this is our Laplace transform of e to the t times t. Now, what happens if we use a second theorem? Where Laplace transform of e to the t times t is equal to the negative of the derivative of the first derivative kay kung ano first derivative kay imuhang exponent sa t kay 1 raman, no? Okay? So, f of s, or the Laplace transform of e to the t. Okay, remember, ang kuhaan na tog Laplace transform is the function that is multiplied by your t. Okay, so the Laplace transform of e to the t, class, is 1 over s minus 1. Okay, so this is the expression that we're gonna differentiate. So, rewrite lang nato gihapon, we have s minus 1 to the negative 1. Okay, so we have negative, bring down negative 1, we have s minus 1, mahimo siyang negative 2, no? Times 1, which is the derivative of s minus 1. So, negative times negative, positive, that is 1 over s minus 1 squared. Okay, so you can see, class, that whichever theorem nga itong i-apply, same ratag mo ang answer. Okay, so walay mas mo prevail, or better to say, walay theorem nga ga-defy sa each other. Alright, so again, we already solved using the first theorem that we know, which is exponential, ang effect sa exponential function sa imuhang certain function. And the second theorem is ang effect sa imong t multiplied by a certain function. Okay, and again, we have arrived with the same answer. Okay, so let's move on. Let me drink some water first. Okay, let's move on to our linearity of the Laplace transform. Now, this one, class, is very easy, no? Because by the way, I have I have yet to post the solution for assignment 4 and quiz 4, but I will. I think by the time you see this video, nag-post na siguro ko. But anyways, sa inyong quiz 5, sorry, quiz 5, um, nagbutang ko dito sa kining linearity of the Laplace transform. I haven't introduced this yet, but just because it's very easy to understand. Constant ramang good ni class, no? And I think even though wala mo kabaloan ni nga theorem, somehow it will make sense because ang imuhang basically ang kini manggod nga theorem, it just states that the Laplace transform of your C1F1T, okay? C is a constant, no? F is a function, all right? And then plus C2F2T of T. Meaning another function of T multiplied by some constant. Kung kuhaon na ni mo ang Laplace transform anang sum sa duha class, it's just equivalent to getting the Laplace transform. Actually, napagini siya mas kung ano, pwede pa na siya the Laplace transform of C1. Mura ko ga-differentiate ka class of many terms. Pwede nimo ma-distribute ang imuhang notation nga derivative, di ba? Or differential nga notation. So, inga na ragyapon, pwede na to ma-distribute in a sense ang atong Laplace nga notation, no? So, that is equal to the Laplace transform of the first term plus the Laplace transform of the second term. Alright? Now, pwede pa natin mabuag into this expression because this is a constant. Pwede na to na siya, again, akong term na mapakilid. Okay, pakilid na to na and then get the Laplace transform of the function of t plus ang C2, pakilid gyapon ipagawas and then get the Laplace transform. And then after you get all the Laplace transform, multiply na din siya sa imong constant. Just like when we differentiate, when we integrate, when we get the Laplace transform, constant, kay dili siya problema. Okay? So, it's very understandable and straightforward class. Okay, so let's solve some. Okay, so I think I'm gonna show you the solution of assignment 4. Quickly lang siguro. So let me add the. Okay. This one. So, all right. Assignment 4. Huh? This is not assignment 4. I think quiz. Please correct. This is quiz 5. I think I meant to say quiz 5. Assignment 4 is still the variation. Okay. So, skip na lang ni class nga part ha kay kapuyan mo og edit niya. So, di na ako siya i-cut. I think I meant to say quiz. Oh, maybe it's quiz 4 after all. I think I lost track of my file names. So, indulge me for a moment. So, it's not quiz 4. So, quiz 5. Actually, quiz 5. Which I haven't uploaded yet, I believe. Oh, yeah. Wala pa gid eh. So let me upload it for a while. Again, you can skip this part of the video. Oh. Murag nakita na ko. Nade dire. Okay. So, it's here pala. Okay. So, nade siya dire class. Wala pa na ako nila-upload. But, yeah, I think by the time you see this, hopefully na-upload na ako. Okay. So, ingani na siya class. Number 1, kabla naman mo ana. So, number 2, atong buhaton is get the kato ma-apply na to ang ato ang tanang theorem nga nato ng class. Linearity, the effect of your exponential, and the effect of your t, no? But in this case, wala ko example nga t to the third one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, okay. I see. Okay, at this point, kay exponential, pa mali akong discuss na. Anyway, sige. Let's solve for number 2. We have the 6e to the negative 4t plus 5, t cubed minus 8, okay? So, mura na siya ibulag, kung ano yung Laplace transform ani, plus Laplace transform ani minus the Laplace transform ani. Okay, so we use the linearity of theorem of Laplace transform. And then each term class, taon din nato asa nato ma-apply. Unsa atong pwede ma-apply sa iya. Okay, so we have the constant 6 here, so mo to gipagawas na to, and then get the Laplace transform of the exponential function. Ipagawas ang 5, get the Laplace transform of t cubed, and then minus the Laplace transform of 8. Pwede pagawas ng 8, Laplace transform of 1. Pwede sa Laplace transform of 8 class. Atong na-learn na, dali ra kayo siya. So, to solve everything, we have this answer. Right. And then, number 3, sino naman ay except aning a part, mo ni siya ang medyo tricky. So, all you have to do is first get the Laplace transform of hyperbolic sine 60. Okay, so that is 6 over s squared minus 6 squared. Pero tungod sa imong exponential function class nga e to the negative 3t, ang imong s ma-replace with s minus alpha or s minus negative 3, that is s plus 3 squared. Okay, and the rest are very easy. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Murag synergy siya. Sige, let's continue with inverse transform na puta class. Let's go to this lecture. So, Laplace transform yapon tanga context class, no? Pero ang atong buhaton is i-inverse na po nato. What if we're given with expressions or functions that is of s, and then we need to get the inverse of that, meaning we need to get the value of f of t. Okay, so we know that from the previous lecture that the Laplace transform of f of t is f of s, no? Katong capital letter, atong notation nato. Meaning, kung capital letter, nakalaplace na siya. Kung small letter, katong normal lang itong function or ordinary na itong function. Or original itong function. Okay? So, the inverse Laplace transform class of f of s, meaning, imong f of s, we need to get the inverse Laplace transform, and that is equivalent to f of t. Mura ra gud nagde-differentiate ka class if you anti-differentiate, meaning ga-integrate ka, di ba? So, ingana lagyan po ng concept. We are given with f of s. We need to get the inverse transform of that to get, kumbaga, to extract the original function. Okay, so how do we do that? It's very important, of course, that you know, you have the knowledge of Laplace transform. So, pag Laplace transform, because how are you gonna solve for the inverse of a certain transform that you do not know about, diba? So, it's very important that you know. So, we have here, same nagyabang class, no? Katong atong linearity. We still can use that when we get the inverse Laplace transform or inverse Laplace transform. So, we have the inverse Laplace transform of f of s, f1 of s, f2 of s, is just equivalent to getting the Laplace transform of each term. So, ana lang. Pwede ra gyapon ipakilid ra ipagawas sa gyapon nimo ang mga constants. Okay? So, here we need to find f of t. Ganina atong mga previous lecture na to, atong mga gipampangita class kay mga Laplace transform, di ba? We find the Laplace transform given f of t. In this case, we find f of t given the following f of s, okay? So f of s here, given, gitagaan tag 1 over s plus 4. Okay? So, all you have to do, class, para medyo ma-familiarize mo is, tanawin ninyo ang table, and then, asa ang mga function that is duol kaayo closest to the type of Laplace transform that we are given with. We have 1 over s plus 4. So, kung mabalik ko sa table, class, okay, we have here the table. 1 over s plus 4. Now, kung tanaw-nin mo ning nga part, class, imong sine, cosine, hyperbolic sine, hyperbolic cosine, they're all s squared sa obos, right? So that means it could not be possible nga ang iyang f of t looks like this, right? So murag contact class ga-investigate sa certain function nga gihatag sa tuwa ba. So atong buhaton is magdeduce ta. So kini siya na ato na ning na cancel because it could not be possible kay wala man naka-square atong mga s nga gihatag. We have 1 over s plus 4. Ato sa ta sa first. It could be, but imuha mo gud is s ra man good. In this case, sa second s ra gihapon but with a exponent that is more than 1. Ang pinaka-close class is this one, right? Imuha ang exponential function. So we have s, 1 over s minus alpha. That is closest to the one that is given to us, 1 over s plus 4. How are we going to solve for the inverse? All we have to do, class, is we rewrite it in such a way nga mo pareha siya dagway sa ato ang Laplace transform sa common nga mga functions that we know of. Okay? So, kumbaga, mura na gyud tag nag-solve gyapon og katong mga methods of solving differential equation, class nga nagmanipulate ta. So, we manipulate this, class. Ato siyang i-rewrite into magbutang lang ko diri recall unsa man imuhang kailangan mahinumduman ani. We recall the Laplace transform of e to the alpha t that is equivalent to 1 over s minus alpha. Okay? So, we would want to write this in this manner. So, f of t nato day, class, is the inverse, okay, of 1 over s plus 4. Okay? So, ato ning i-rewrite, class, into this itsura, 1 over s minus alpha. So, that is 1 over s minus, para ma-minus siya, dapat ang atong 4 is negative 4, okay? We are not changing the function. We are just manipulating it para mo close siya sa tuang function that we know of. Diba? So actually, the more you solve, class, pwede na gali ka dili mag-rewrite, pwede ra na nimo mata-matahon later kung kabalo na ka, kung sige na kag-solve, okay? Now in this case, 1 over s minus negative 4, unsa man ang atong alpha? Atong alpha is negative 4. So that means, it's easy to solve, class, because we can conclude that our f of t di is e to the alpha t man, where in our alpha is negative 4t. Okay? So this is now our f of t. Okay? Okay? Okay, so yun pa na siya, class. Let's go to our second example. How about this one? F of s is equal to s plus 4 squared. Okay? So, again, dili gyapon ni siya something like cosine, sine, hyperbolic cosine, or hyperbolic sine because, again, dapat imong s is naka-square. In this case, dili man ang s ang naka-square. Ang whole quantity ang naka-square. Okay? So, we must recall, class, again, wala na siya, sure ko na yung mga tanan na po ani nga, ma'am, wala structured way of solving. Wala, Jud, because you have to recall the Laplace transform of the common elementary functions and the theorems that we have solved. And then, kuan gid siya class, diskarte gid siya and kanang quick thinking ba? Unsa inyong ma-recall nga duol-duol ana? Okay, wala siya structured way like pareha sa solving an exact differential equation, no, wherein you test the exactness and then you get the whatever. So dili siya nga naka-structured. Kailangan jud siya og more practice. More practice para mas ma-familiar mo. So ang pinaka-importante ma-recall na to ani class is the Laplace transform of t, okay, which is 1 over s squared, and then the Laplace transform of, now, kung ako manggod ang approach na ko ani class is, dili square ang s, so dili ni siya cosine sine, hyperbolic cosine, hyperbolic sine. So naara gid ni siya sa exponential o naa ni siya somewhere sa t. Kay dira ra siya gadula-dula. Now, dili po siya purely exponential because ang exponential class alone, tanawa sa tong first example, wala man na siya exponent dira iyahang whole nga quantity, di ba? So, kanang exponent nga 2 dira, it could be because of your t, right? Because the Laplace transform of t is 1 over s squared. Now, pag tanaw na to siya class, s raman siya. Unsaon man nato nga ang s nimo mahimo siyang s plus 4. And we know nga tungod ang effect sa mga exponential function sa isa ka function na multiplied nga gi-multiply nimo sa exponential is ma-change yung s. So from there, we know that ang pwede nato gamiton ani is when your exponential function, no, e to the alpha t is multiplied by t, what will happen to your 1 over s squared? It will be ang s nimo replaced by s minus alpha squared. Okay? And this one is very close to this one. So all we have to do is, again, i-manipulate na to yung itsura class. So f of t na to karon is the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s plus 4 squared. Okay? So we have the inverse Laplace transform of, now ato siyang i-rewrite class into s minus alpha. Now we know na kaganinang sa onto, no? We have s minus negative 4 squared. Okay? So we can conclude that our f of t is e to the alpha t, which is the negative 4t multiplied by t. Kini o. Kani siya. Alright? Okay. So that's pretty tricky, no? But let's move on to the next example. Let's find the f of t for the following f of s class. We have 1 over s squared plus 4. Okay. So, imong s is naka-square na siya. So, possible nga cosine sine, possible nga hyperbolic cosine, hyperbolic sine. So, unsa man atong timailhan para ma-deduce gid nato siya class. Ang imong s squared plus 4, imong denominator is s squared plus 4. Now, again, imong s squared indicates that it could be cosine sine, hyperbolic cosine, hyperbolic sine. Pero asa man sila nag-differ, di ba diri sa imong sign sa tunga, whether plus ba siya or minus. So, balik ta sa imong table. Ang atong table class here is, ang hyperbolic cosine and sine are both naka-minus. So, that means we are down to sine or cosine, kay plus man na dira, di ba? So, possibly sine or cosine. Now, atong given class, para mas ma-further deduce bigyan na ito siya, atong given is 1 over s squared plus 4. Now, ang difference imong sine o cosine is your numerator. Your sine is a constant imong numerator because that is omega. Your cosine, s ang imuhang numerator. Okay? So, that means, kaang gihatag sa tuwa nga 1 over s squared plus 4 could be a function. Iyang function, original function like class, could be a sine. Okay? So, we must rewrite this in this way. So, again, the important Laplace transform that we're going to use here is recall the Laplace transform class of sine omega t, okay, is omega over s squared plus omega squared. Okay, so we must rewrite that. Actually, dalit na kayo siya tanaw, no? So, f of t na to class is, again, the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s squared plus 4. Okay, first, ato sa siyang manipulate ang denominator class para mahimo na gyud siyang s squared plus omega squared, no? So that is 1 over s squared plus, in order to get the square root, of course, ato na siyang square root of 4, no? Di ba that is square root of 4 nga naka-square. Mo na siyang imuhang i-relate na to ang 4, di ba? So that is Laplace transform of 1 over s squared plus 2 squared. Ana naman na siya, class, right? Now, from here, atong tan-awon, class, we have here omega. Okay? So, we know nga, ang omega there is 2. Right? That is the square root of 4. So, that means, ang atong numerator, class, must be equal to 2. In this case, ang atong numerator is equal to 1. How are we going to have a numerator of 2 para marirewrite gid nato siya into this? Again ha, dili nato ni siya marirewrite into this because this is not yet in this form. Okay, so i-manipulate nato siya, class. What will happen, I mean, what will you multiply para mahimong 2 ang imong numerator? Of course, we multiply it by 2. Pero, para dili ma-change ang atong function, ato po siyang divided og 2. So that we're just basically multiplying it by 1. Okay? Again, we're not changing the function. So that is s squared plus 2 squared. Okay? Now, ang 2, gusto nato sa babaw. So, ato ning ipagawas ang 1/2. Kining apart, kining apart, kining 1/2. So that, what is left inside, class, is 2 over s squared plus 2 squared. Okay? And finally, this one is already in this form. That means we can get now the inverse Laplace transform of this expression. And that is equal to, copy 1/2, that is sine. Now, ang sine daw, class, ang ato daw function is the sine of omega t. So, ang omega na to is 2 man, di ba? Which is this one. 2, 2. Okay? Consistent. So, that means atong sine is 2t. Okay? Now, this is our f of t. Okay, I hope you're getting the gist of it. All right. I think we'll have more example. 2 more. 3 more. Okay. So, pause. Yeah, last 3 na gid. All right. Next. Okay, let's have this example. Find the following f of t for the following f of s. We have s over s squared minus 5. Okay, before I solve, you can pause this video. You can solve for yourself para let's see if pareha ba tag makam up nga answer. Okay, so first thing is don't cheat. Don't play the video yet. But first thing that you're gonna see, class, is s squared. Okay? So, ako, magtanong ko, s squared. Sige. So, it could be cosine, sine, or hyperbolic function. And then the next is kining minus. Minus. That indicates that it is a, di na lang kung balik sa taas, kay layo na kayo. That indicates that it is a hyperbolic function because remember, kato kaganina plus man to, no? So, it's either sine or cosine lang sa numerator and sa numerator. In this case, minus man siya. So, it could be, na-deduce na to siya nga hyperbolic siya. So, hyperbolic. Now, unsa ka siya, cosine or sine. Now, whether hyperbolic siya, class, or dili, ang difference gid sa sine o cosine is ang numerator, di ba? For the cosine, for the sine kaganina, imong numerator is a constant. Imong cosine man gud is s. Okay? Same ra gyapon sa imong hyperbolic class. In this case, again, this is a hyperbolic function man yang inverse ani, no? Iyang numerator is s. So that means na-deduce na to siya nga cosine dahil siya. Okay? So I'm gonna write here katong Laplace transform. Recall, recall the Laplace transform of hyperbolic cosine of alpha t, that is s over s squared minus alpha squared. Okay, so we want to rewrite this in this manner. Actually, it's very easy, murag one step lang, ano? So our f of t class is equal to the inverse Laplace transform of s over s squared minus 5. Right? So that means that is the inverse Laplace transform of s over, ang i-manipulate na ito, ani class kay ang 5 lang, no, kay siya raman, ang numerator okay man, s man siya. Alright, so in this case, nakita na ninyo class that our alpha is square root of 5. Right? So we can conclude that our f of t is just simply equal to the hyperbolic cosine of alpha t man, meaning hyperbolic cosine of square root of 5t. Okay, so this is now our answer. Okay. So I hope you have the same answer. Let's go to the next one. Medyo challenging. So we have f of s that is equal to 1 over s squared plus 4s. All right. So in this case, dili pa nato makita class kung unsa gyud siya. Number 1, madiduce nato siya no nga kuan siya, cosine sine, hyperbolic cosine, hyperbolic sine. Okay? Because of this s squared. Okay? Kung s squared siya, meaning possible cosine, sine, etc. Now, wala pa ta kabalo kay 4s magud ni. Mayon tag constant ni siya kay dali ra kay i-manipulate. But this one is 4s. So, leave sa na nato class. Tanaw sa ato numerator. Numerator is a constant. And then we have s squared. So, pwede ta makakonclude nga it has something to do with sine. Right? Because sine or hyperbolic sine. Because sine and hyperbolic sine, ang iyang Laplace transform is always a constant sa imong numerator. Correct? So, it could be a sine or a hyperbolic sine. Naaraan ng duha. Right? Pero, unsa na to pagkabalo? Unsa na to conclude ani class? Now, what we're gonna do is, kining ubos na to class, kay s squared man na plus 4s, we should complete the square. Okay, we use completing the square in this para ma-manipulate nato siya in a certain way, di ba? Okay? Para mahimo siyang s squared plus omega squared baka ha, or s squared plus alpha squared. But you will see later nga, mas mo incline ta to hyperbolic sine. Okay? Because, sige, ako na lang spoil. This is hyperbolic sine because when you complete a square, man good class, you will get a difference of square, right? And the difference of square is a product, is a transform of hyperbolic sine. Okay, so let's solve. So we need to get the f of t, and that is the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s squared plus 4s. Okay, so we complete the square class. 1 over s squared plus 4s. Now, akong ilahi ang color. Mag-plus na dili og 0 class. But we add 4 and we subtract 4. Okay? Para walay ma-change sa atuang function. Okay? Ga-completing the square lang. Anong ga plus 4 man ta minus 4? Because in order to complete the square, ang sa ato class, i-divide na tog 2 ang ato ang, please review complete term square. I think some of you use complete term square po no in getting the roots and that's fine. So, medyo anad na mo. But to review lang, ang imong i-plus diri class is something that is gikan sa imong middle term. No? Divide 2 and then you square that. Tama ba? Yeah, divide 2 and you square it. So, that is plus 4. So, in order nga dili ma-change ang function, ato sa siyang minusan ng 4. Alright? So, aha naman ta. Ato na siyang ikuan class, i-factor. Okay? So, that is the inverse Laplace gihapon of 1 over, now this one class, kining s squared plus 4s plus 4, ato na siyang i-rewrite nga, naka-binomial, no? Square of binomial. So, that is s plus 2 square, right? And then we are left with minus 4. Okay, so, Laplace transform, inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s plus 2 square. Ato ning i-rewrite ang 4 class into a square, no, para mas makita nato siya. Okay. So we have 1 over s plus 2 squared minus 2 squared. Unsa to ma-conclude ani? If we recall, the Laplace transform class of hyperbolic sine of alpha t, that is equal to alpha over s squared minus, okay? So, kani palang daan class, ato na siyang makonclude no nga hyperbolic sine gid siya because somehow it's already in this form, no? Somehow lang. Because na kay alpha squared dire, okay, a constant that is being squared, yes. And then na kay s squared, pero ang imuhang s squared, instead of s squared, naman siya s plus 2. So, I think na may idea so na nato. However, ang imong numerator is 1. Okay? But we know that the numerator should be equal to the alpha here or kaning imong constant diri sa ubos, no? So, in order nga mahimo na siyang 2, parehas ka ganina, ato na siyang multiplyan og 2 over 2. So, that is the inverse Laplace of 2 over 2 times 1 over s plus 2 squared minus 2 squared. Okay. So, we have, pagawas siya pa ng 1/2, inverse Laplace transform of 2 over s plus 2 squared minus 2 squared. Okay. Now, unsa man makarelate ba ta dito sa hyperbolic sine class? This one is not exactly in this form. Right? It's not exactly. Okay. Ang imuhang s squared diri, so what is supposed to be s squared is s plus 2 squared. But we know that the theorem, from theorem na to, first theorem na to nga na-discuss, we know that the exponential function, if you multiply that with the certain function, no, na siya effect, ang imuhang s, mahimong s minus alpha. So that means, kining s plus 2 diri is caused by the exponential function. Now, di na ako i-rewrite class. Ang s plus 2, para mahimo siyang s minus alpha, that is s minus negative 2, correct? So that means, ang imo na exponent sa exponential function, ana, is negative 2. Okay? Again, balik. Kining s plus 2 diri is caused by your exponential function. Meaning, naade kay exponential function that is multiplied sa imong hyperbolic sine. Okay? So, to conclude, ang imong f of t di ana class is equal to 1/2. Okay? Sine of, okay, hyperbolic sine of 2t, diba? Kaya imong alpha diri, kani alpha, mo man na siya. So that means, kanan 2 dira, 2, it should also be here, na 2. Now, because imong s squared is s plus 2 squared, that means naday kay something exponential function diri, no? Isog sa na ni tanan class. Okay, so naaday kay exponential function diri class nga nahimo siyang s plus 2. So s minus negative 2 mo na yung s minus alpha. And yung exponent ani is negative 2t. Okay, so rewrite nato na 1/2 e to the negative 2t hyperbolic sine of 2t. Okay, so this is your final answer. Okay. Oh my God, we are down to the last two na pa di ay. I'll introduce partial fraction pa di ay. Well, it's more of like a review na lang sa inyo ha. But yeah. So let's move on to our next example. Okay, we have here kato kay tag isa-isa naman na class no. What if you have a combination? So mora gyapon to. Per term ko nimong inverse and per term i-analyze nimo. So we have here the Laplace transform of everything f of s, the inverse Laplace lagi, the inverse Laplace of 19 over s plus 2 minus 1 over 3s minus 5 plus 7 over s to the fifth. Okay, is just equal to when you get the inverse Laplace transform of each term. No? So minus, okay, 1 over 3s minus 5 plus inverse of 7 over s to the fifth. Okay, so all right. For the first term, we need to siya i-write in this way. 19 times the inverse Laplace of 1 over s plus 2. Okay? Minus the inverse Laplace of, now, ang imuhang kuan class is na siya 3. Imong denominator, imong s ba na siya 3. So, atong buhatan na ipagawas na to ng 3 dira. So, we have s minus, ang imong 5, may mo na siyang 5 over 3. Okay, rewrite lang nato na siya in that manner. Plus, pagawas mo 7 of inverse of 1 over s to the fifth. Okay. So, dako na kayo. Okay, sige. Let's solve for the first one. Now, kaning itsura class is, we know that this is exponential. Okay? And again, you will learn that by experience. So, always solve and solve. So, that is s plus 2 man na. So, ang imong coefficient is negative 2t. Right? Minus, this one is you have 1/3. Pwede nimo ipagawas ang 1/3 here. And then you are left with 1 over s minus 5 over 3. Meaning, imong alpha is 5 over 3 sa imong exponential function. So, that is minus 1 over 3 e to the 5t over 3. Okay, I hope you're following. Plus, now, kini ang medyo tricky gamay class. How are we going to get the inverse Laplace of this? 1 over s to the fifth. Now, kung s squared na, pwede cosine sine, hyperbolic cosine, di ba? And so on. But in this case, asa man mo ma-relate nga function? We can relate that to t to the n. Okay? We recall we have sa to Laplace transform of t to the n. Di ba that is like n factorial over s to the n plus 1, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Okay. So, that means class, kiniting 5 diri. Okay? Kanang 5 ni mga exponent is actually, pwede natin i-rewrite in this way ha. Okay. So that is 1 over s to the 5th, right? So that means ang imong n ana is 4 because when makakonclude na ta nga t to the 4th na siya nga naman because s to the 4th plus 1 man na. Okay? N factorial or 4 factorial, that is, ato lang i-write ang 4 factorial gyapon over s to the 5th. Okay? So s to the 5th, kana. So sakto. However, imong numerator is incorrect. Instead of 4 factorial, 1 ra siya. So again, para sa ganina, ato nang multiplyan og ato siyang multiplyan class og 4 factorial. Okay? 4 factorial over 4 factorial multiplied by 1 over s to the 5th. Okay? So, relate lang nato ning uban kay humana man na sila, rin lang ang e. Okay? Plus 7. Pagawas na to ang 7, ang 4 factorial sa ubos class. That is 7 over, what is 4 factorial? That is 24. Okay? Inverse of 4 factorial over s to the 5th. And this one, okay, is equal to this one. That means kaning inverse ani is just equal to t to the 4th. Okay? So to rewrite everything, we have 19 e to the negative 2t minus e to the 5t over 3 plus 7 over 24 t to the 4th. Okay? So that's the inverse Laplace transform. All right. We're down to the last example. Medyo taas ni siya, but ang pag-solve naman ang task class. But kung kabalo na mo sa partial fraction, then it would be easy sa inyo. Okay, let's have this f of s. So, kato, mga pambata naman ito ng example previously. This one is the real deal. How are you going to solve for the inverse Laplace transform of this kind of function class? So, you have 5s squared plus 2s minus 37 over s cubed minus 13s plus 12. So, dili siya diretso ni mo mabaw ano kasi siya nga form. Pag mula pas na gali nag-s squared class ang imuhang denominator, ang tip na ko sa inyo is, kanina gid yung gamiton mo. Partial fraction na gid mo, mag-factor na gid mo sa denominator. Because there's no other way. Wala man kailaing transform nga greater than s squared. Diba? Ang atong mga cosine, sine, hyperbolic cosine and sine are all s squared. Okay? Unless kung s to the, purely lang gina siya s to the higher exponent, no? Then we can relate it to t. Right? But other than that, wala na kay high, dili na ka makitag higher nga s cube plus 3 baka ha na denominator no nga ma-relate nimo sa imong f of t. So anyways, what we're gonna do here is we use partial fraction. So ato ning i-factor out class, no? So kanang denominator nimo ato nang pangitaan og factors. Dili na ako isa-isa because actually that's part, para di na ta magbalik-balik, pero pangitaan ko po na ako sa solution yun sa inyo pag factor ana. So, we use partial fraction. Okay, so we have 5s squared plus 2s minus 37 over s cubed minus 13s plus 12. Okay? And then, ang imo na buhaton na is, don't worry about the numerator. Just factor the denominator and use partial fraction. That's it. So we have 5s squared plus 2s minus 37 over the factors of the denominator class are s minus 3, s plus 4, and s minus 1. Okay? So, atong buhaton is, again, we use partial fraction. So that is A over S minus 3. Pa-review ko sa partial fraction class. I think na-discuss na sa previous ninyong mga courses. So that is, ang second is B over S plus 4 plus C over S minus 1. Right? Atong gibulag ang number of terms class is the number of factors pud nimo sa imong denominator. Right? So that means, pangitaon nato unsa day value sa unsay value sa A, unsay value sa B, and value sa C. Nganong ato siyang gibulag para mas dali siya kuhaan og inverse Laplace transform. Alright? Okay, let's go to okay. Now, when you have this expression class, ang imuhang A, okay, para mas dali ninyo kuan masabtan. Atong buhaton ani is ang numerator, of course, pwede man ta magkuha, di ba, if we get the LCD, we manipulate it in this way. We have 5s squared plus 2s minus 37. No? If we cancel the denominator by this, kini siya o kini nga part. Okay? So we have here a multiplied by, since ang iyahang denominator is s minus 3, ang i-multiply na sa iyaha is, or r, s plus 4 or s minus 1. Okay? So we have s plus 4, s minus 1, plus b, s plus 4 man na siya, so we have s minus 3, s minus 1, plus c, s minus 3, and s plus 4. Okay? Ato na siyang ipang-distribute class so that makuha na to ang value sa a, b, and c. Alright, so that is a s squared plus 3s minus 4, okay, plus b s squared minus 4s plus 3, plus c s squared minus, plus s minus 12. Yeah. And then, all we have to do is group everything, ang mga terms, ganay s squared, ganay s, and all the constants, okay, as different groups. Okay, so we first group tanang coefficient ganay s squared. So that is ang a. Okay, sa second term we have plus b, and then sa third term we have plus c. So that is s squared. Ang mga s class would be kini a times 3. Okay, so that is 3a minus kani minus siya tungod aning negative 4. Okay, minus 4b, and then c og ang 1. Okay, so that is just plus 1. Ay, plus c, sorry. Times s. Okay? Plus, tanan na dayong mga coefficient. We have negative 4 times a pamana, no? And then b o 3b, and then negative 12c. So we have ito negative 4a plus 3b minus 12c. And then base na left og right side must be equal. So we equate everything. Ang 5 equate na to ani. Ang 2 equate na to ani. Ang negative 37 equate na to ani. Okay, so that we have 3 equations and 3 unknowns. We have a plus b plus c is equal to 5. 3a minus 4b plus c is equal to 2. We have negative 4a plus 3b minus 12c is equal to negative 37. Okay, and then, okay, solving everything class, we can get an a that is 1, a b that is 1, and c that is 3. Okay, so you know how to solve that one. Again, pwede i-calculate, pwede i-mano-mano, basta be careful with the sign. Okay, so meaning class, we have a, b, and c nga mga value. Ang kini di siya 5s squared plus 2s minus 37 all over s cubed minus 13s plus 12 is just equal to kato kaganina, okay, with the values na din ta. That is 1 over s minus 3 plus 1 over s plus 4 plus 3 over s minus 1. Okay? So, instead of mabuang pangita sa inverse ani, pwede na to siya ma-replacean ani because that is equal. F of s is just equal. Kini siya is just equal ani. That means to get the inverse Laplace transform of this, pwede ta maghuwag inverse Laplace transform of this one. Okay? So, f of t now is just the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s minus 3 plus 1 over s plus 4 plus 3 over s minus 1. And actually, every term class, ang yang inverse is just an exponential function, right? So that is equal to, ang imong first, s minus 3, that is e to the 3t, okay? Plus s plus 4 man na, so that is e to the negative 4t. And then next is, ang imong kaonraan na class is ang s minus 1, no? So that is e to the t, pero naman kay 3. So, multiply na mo siya 3. And this is now your inverse Laplace transform. Okay, so I think that would be all for the inverse transform. The next lecture will be about the derivative and we're gonna solve for some initial value problem of linear ODE. Gamit na gyud ang Laplace transform class. So, I'll take a break and I think I'm gonna upload the next lecture tomorrow and on the following days lang. So thank you for listening and I hope you solve a lot of problems para wala tayo problema pag-abot sa exam. Okay, so that will be all. Thank you very much for listening.